This is Life Points with Ronda, because every choice is a life point. Every decision shapes your love, your money, and your life's direction. So take a breath, open your mind. Are you ready for today's topic? Let's dive in. Trigger warning. Before we begin, I need to say this very clearly. Today's episode discusses a brutal killing. A man is dead. A 23-year-old woman is facing execution by firing squad. We will be talking about violence, domestic abuse, sexual assault allegations, strip searches, and the death penalty. This is heavy. This is real. And this is not a story with easy answers. If you need to pause, take a breath, or step away entirely, please do what is right for you. Your peace matters. Now let's begin. A 23-year-old British woman is sitting in a Dubai prison cell right now. Her name is Brooke George. She is a TikTok influencer with nearly 100,000 followers. She is a former John Lewis shop assistant from Gravesend, Kent, and if she is convicted of the crime she is accused of, she will be executed by firing squad. Let me say that again. Firing squad, in the desert, a 23-year-old woman who was trying to get on a plane back to England. Here is what we know. Brooke George met a man online. His name was Bill Treby. He was 26 years old. He was from Rainham, Kent. He arranged for her to come to Dubai for a professional photo shoot. She went. She had the time of her life, her words, not mine. She came back to England, and then she went back to Dubai for a second trip. That second trip ended with Bill Treby dead, stabbed with a kitchen knife in his luxury apartment. Brooke George says she acted in self-defense. She says he became controlling and abusive. She says he punched her, hid her passport, and attacked her again. She says she feared for her life and grabbed a knife within her reach. But here's what I keep coming back to. If she was so terrified, why didn't she call the police? Why didn't she contact the British embassy? Why did she find her passport, book a flight, and run to the airport? And why, after she stabbed him, did she not alert anyone? A man is dead. He cannot tell his side of the story. His family is grieving. His mother, Karen, wrote on Facebook, "My darling son, I'm broken. Rest in forever peace, my Bill." His sister, Esther, said, "He was not only my brother, but my best friend." But Brooke George's mother is also terrified. Teresa George said, "The daughter I spoke to that night was utterly terrified. I firmly believe she was desperately trying to get home and away from whatever had happened to her." Two mothers, two grieving families, one dead man, one woman facing a firing squad, and a whole lot of unanswered questions. This is not a simple story. There are no heroes here. There are no villains. Not clearly, not yet. There is a tragedy, and there is a young woman whose life hangs in the balance. I am a woman. I am not here to kick another woman when she is down. But I am also not here to pretend that everything she says adds up. Because it doesn't, and we need to talk about that. Because this story is bigger than Brooke George. This is about every young woman who gets on a plane to a country she does not understand. This is about the lure of luxury, the promise of a bag, and the brutal reality that can follow. This is about Dubai, the glittering city with a dark underbelly. This is about laws that do not care about your Instagram followers. And this is about the choices we make when we walk into a foreign country without doing our homework. So, let's break this down. Let's look at the facts. Let's look at the holes. Let's look at the culture. And let's ask the hard questions, the ones nobody wants to ask, because Brooke George is facing death. And if we cannot have an honest conversation about how she got there, then we are not helping anyone. Before we go any further, I need you to do something. I need you to sit with this story. I need you to resist the urge to pick a side too quickly. Because this is not a sports game. This is not about Team Brooke versus Team Bill. This is about a human life. Actually, two human lives. And the choices that led to a kitchen knife, a dead body, and a prison cell in Dubai. I want you to listen with your whole heart. I want you to ask the hard questions, and I want you to share this episode with at least 3 people. Send it to your group chats, post it on your social media, talk about it at your dinner table, because this conversation needs to happen. Young women are flying to Dubai every single day. Some of them are looking for love. Some of them are looking for a bag. Some of them are looking for an Instagram photo that will change their lives. And too many of them are walking into situations they do not understand in countries with laws they have never read. So share this episode, not because I have all the answers, I don't, but because the questions matter. And if we are not asking them, then we are not paying attention. Later in this episode, I am also going to ask you to do your own research. Look up the laws in Dubai. Look up what happens to women who are accused of crimes there. Look up the cases of other British nationals who have been detained, because this is not an isolated incident. This is a pattern, and we need to see it. You are listening to Life Points with Ronda. I am your host, Ronda. And if you are new here, welcome. If you have been with me for a while, welcome back. You know that this show is not about easy answers. It is about real life, the kind that breaks your heart, the kind that makes you angry, the kind that forces you to look at things you would rather ignore. Today's episode is called Brooke George, Death by Firing Squad in Dubai, a 23-year-old's life on the line. I have a lot to say about this case, and I am not going to hold back. But I also want to be very clear about something. I am a woman. I believe women. I believe victims of domestic violence. I believe that women should be able to defend themselves. And I believe that the justice system should protect survivors, not punish them. But I also believe in the truth. And the truth in this case is messy. Bill Treby is dead. That is a fact. He cannot speak. He cannot defend himself. He cannot tell us what happened in that apartment. And that matters. Brooke George is alive. She is in a Dubai prison. She is facing execution. And she has given her version of events. But her version has holes. Big ones. And if we do not talk about those holes, then we are not being honest. So here is what I am going to do. I am going to walk you through this case in 9 detailed sections. We are going to look at the facts. We are going to look at the timeline. We are going to look at the unanswered questions. We are going to talk about Dubai, the culture, the laws, the dangers. We are going to talk about the glamour that draws women in and the darkness that can swallow them. We are going to talk about what Brooke George should have done differently. And we are going to talk about what happens next. And at the end, I am going to ask you to pray or send good energy or whatever you believe in for both families, because both of them are suffering and both of them deserve compassion. Before I dive in, I also want to remind you about my other podcasts. You can find them wherever you are listening right now. The Wealth Reset podcast, because financial freedom is part of our survival. We cannot make good decisions if we are desperate for money. Love Lies and Life Lessons, for the heartbreaks and the healing. Because even in the middle of tragedy, we still need to love each other. Lady Aurelia Ravenshade presents, for the stories that haunt you, the mysteries that keep you up at night, and the escape we all sometimes need. And Soul Points, for the deeper questions, the ones about spirit, about purpose, about why we are here, and what we owe each other. Same voice, different conversations, all rooted in truth. Go check them out. Now, let's get into it. Who is Brooke George? The girl behind the headlines. Let me introduce you to Brooke George. She is 23 years old. She is from Gravesend, Kent, in England. She worked at John Lewis, a well-known British department store. She is a TikTok influencer with nearly 100,000 followers. She posted about her life, her friends, her travels. By all accounts, she was a normal young woman. Not a celebrity, not a millionaire. Just a girl with a social media following and a desire for something more. And that desire for more, is what led her to Dubai. Here is how it started. Brooke George met Bill Treby on Facebook. He was 26 years old. He was also from Kent. He told her he could arrange a professional photo shoot for her in Dubai. He promised her luxury. He promised her opportunity. He promised her the kind of life that looks good on Instagram. She took the bait. She flew to Dubai for the first time in May of this year. According to her, that first visit was wonderful. She described it as the time of my life. She did the photo shoot. She posted the pictures. She lived the dream. So when he invited her back for a second trip, she said yes. But here's where the story starts to get dark. On that second trip, Brooke George says things changed. She says Bill Treby became increasingly controlling and abusive. She says he bought her a one-way ticket, not a round trip. She says he confiscated her passport so she could not leave. She says he punched her in the face when she asked for it back. She says he assaulted her in a car after a night out at Caffrey's Bar in Jumeirah Village. And she says he continued the attack at his apartment, and then she says she feared for her life. She grabbed a kitchen knife that was within her reach. She stabbed him, and he died. That is her story. But here is what I need you to understand. That is her story. It is not necessarily the truth. It is her version of events, and it is the only version we have from her side. Because Bill Treby is dead, and dead men cannot speak. Who was Bill Treby, the man who cannot speak? Now let me tell you about Bill Treby. He was 26 years old. He was from Rainham, Kent. He had a family who loved him. His mother, Karen, wrote on Facebook after his death, "My darling son, I'm broken. Rest in forever peace, my Bill. You will be so missed and loved by us all." His sister Esther wrote, "He was not only my brother, but my best friend. I love you, my Bill. Forever 26. That is the Bill Treby his family knew. A son, a brother, a friend. But there is another side to Bill Treby, and we need to talk about it because it matters. According to court records, Bill Treby had a criminal record. In December 2023, he was found guilty of unlawful wounding and common assault at Maidstone Crown Court. The charges related to an attack on a woman and a man. He received a 14-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. That means he was convicted of assaulting a woman. That is a fact, and there is more. He was scheduled to face trial next year at the same court, accused of conspiring to supply cocaine. Police had recovered cocaine, cash, and cannabis valued at £80,000. He was among 7 suspects charged with conspiracy to supply cocaine in March 2024. So Bill Treby was not a choir boy. He had a history of violence against women. He had a history of drug offenses. He was facing serious criminal charges back in England. Does that mean Brooke George's story is true? Not necessarily, but it does mean that she was not dealing with a saint. It means that her claims of abuse are not coming out of nowhere. It means that there is a pattern, a history, that supports her version of events. A friend of Bill Treby, speaking anonymously to the Daily Mail, dismissed Brooke George's account. He called Treby a good guy with a big heart. He accused George and her team of trying to make him out to be some scumbag. He said, "I don't believe he had her passport. He was treating her well. She was living the life." But here's my question. If Bill Treby was such a good guy, why did he have a conviction for assaulting a woman? Why was he facing drug charges? Why did he have a history that looks exactly like the kind of man who would become controlling and abusive? I am not saying Bill Treby deserved to die. No one deserves to die like that. But I am saying that we cannot pretend he was an innocent victim in every sense of the word. He had a past, and that past matters. The Treby family has also suffered unimaginable tragedy before. Bill's father, Jack Treby, was murdered by his own brother and 2 nephews in a deliberate hit-and-run attack in 2009. Jack's older brother, Bill, and his sons, Billy and George, were convicted of murder after he was mowed down by their Range Rover. Bill later took his own life in prison. So Bill Treby grew up in a family marked by violence. He lost his father to murder. He lost his uncle to suicide in prison. And then he himself died in a violent confrontation in Dubai. This is a family that has known tragedy after tragedy. And now they are grieving again. But grief does not change the facts. And the facts are that Bill Treby had a history of violence against women, and that history matters when we are trying to understand what happened in that apartment. The timeline, what we know and what we don't. Let me lay out the timeline as clearly as I can. May 2025, Brooke George and Bill Treby connect on Facebook. He invites her to Dubai for a professional photo shoot. She goes. She has a wonderful time. She describes it as the time of my life. Early June 2025, Brooke George returns to Dubai for a second visit. This time, she says things are different. He buys her a one-way ticket. He becomes controlling. He confiscates her passport. He punches her when she asks for it back. The night of the incident, the pair spend an evening at Caffrey's bar in Jumeirah Village. Something happens at the bar. We do not know what. Bill Treby's friend claims they had a petty argument in the pub and were both guilty of being violent. He says Treby left and went home. He believes George followed shortly afterwards and stabbed him to death in his flat. After the incident, Brooke George calls her mother. Her mother says she was utterly terrified and crying uncontrollably. Her mother could see that one of her eyes was badly swollen and was beginning to close. The flight. Brooke George arranges a flight back to the UK with help from friends. She finds her passport. She goes to Dubai International Airport. June 22nd, 2025. Brooke George is arrested in the early hours at Dubai International Airport while trying to board a flight to London. She is charged with premeditated murder. Present day, Brooke George is being held at Bur Dubai Police Station. She faces execution by firing squad if convicted. That is the timeline. But look at the gaps. What happened at Caffrey's bar? We do not know. What was the argument about? We do not know. Who was the aggressor? We do not know. Did Bill Treby really confiscate her passport? We have only her word. Did he really punch her? We have only her word. Did she really act in self-defense? We have only her word. And here's the biggest gap of all. Why did she not call the police? Why did she not contact the British embassy? Why did she run? If you are being abused, if your life is in danger, if you have just killed someone in self-defense, you call for help. You do not find your passport, book a flight, and run to the airport. Unless, of course, you do not trust the authorities. Unless you know that in Dubai, a woman who kills a man, even in self-defense, is not going to be treated as a victim. Unless you know that the system is not going to protect you. And that brings us to the next section. Dubai, the glitter, the glamour, and the darkness. Let me talk about Dubai. Dubai is a city of superlatives. The tallest building, the biggest mall, the most luxurious hotels. It is a place where money talks and dreams come true, if you have enough money. Dubai is also a place where young women flock, hoping to find a rich man, a luxurious lifestyle, a bag, as they say. They see the Instagram posts. They see the influencers sipping champagne on private yachts. They see the designer clothes and the five-star resorts. And they think, that could be me. But here is what they do not see. Dubai is not England. Dubai is not America. Dubai is not a Western country with Western laws and Western values. Dubai is part of the United Arab Emirates. And the UAE is an Islamic country with Islamic law, Sharia law. And Sharia law does not care about your Instagram followers. Let me give you some examples. In Dubai, public displays of affection can get you arrested. Swearing in public can get you arrested. Drinking alcohol without a license can get you arrested. Taking photos of government buildings can get you arrested. Posting content that is considered indecent on social media can get you arrested. And if you are a woman, the rules are even stricter. Women in Dubai are expected to dress modestly. In public, they are expected to cover their shoulders and knees. In some areas, they are expected to cover their hair. And if they do not, they can be reported to the police, they can be arrested, they can be deported. Now, I know what you are thinking. But Ronda, I see photos of women in bikinis in Dubai all the time. I see influencers posting beach photos. I see Western women walking around in shorts. And you are right. You do see that. Because Dubai is a contradiction. It wants to be a global city. It wants Western tourists. It wants their money. So it looks the other way, up to a point. But that point can shift at any moment. And when it does, you are at the mercy of a system that does not care about your rights. Brooke George did a professional bikini photo shoot during her first visit to Dubai. She posted photos of herself in a bikini. She looked beautiful. She looked glamorous. She looked like she was living the dream. But here's the thing. In Dubai, a woman who poses in a bikini is sending a message. She is saying, I am available. I am for sale. I am here to be looked at. I am not saying that is right. I am not saying that is fair. I am saying that is the reality. In a conservative Islamic country, a woman who exposes her body is not respected. She is objectified. She is seen as less than. She is seen as someone who can be used and discarded. And that is exactly what may have happened to Brooke George. Bill Treby arranged that photo shoot. He saw her in a bikini. He saw her as a possession. He saw her as someone he could control. And when she tried to leave, he took her passport. He punched her. He assaulted her. Because in his mind, she was his, and she had no right to leave. I am not excusing what he did. I am explaining the cultural context. In Dubai, a woman who presents herself as sexually available is not going to be treated with respect. And that is a harsh truth that every woman needs to understand before she gets on a plane to that country. The laws of Dubai, what every woman needs to know. Let me be very clear about something. The laws in Dubai are not the laws in England. The laws in Dubai are not the laws in America. The laws in Dubai are based on Sharia law, and Sharia law is unforgiving. If you kill someone in Dubai, even in self-defense, you can face the death penalty. The death penalty in the UAE is carried out by firing squad. Let that sink in. Firing squad. A firing squad of men with rifles, aimed at a 23-year-old woman in the desert. This is not a movie. This is real life. And this is what Brooke George is facing. But it is not just the death penalty. It is everything that comes before it. After her arrest, Brooke George claims she was denied access to a lawyer. She claims she was forced to make statements without legal representation. She claims she was forced to strip naked in front of male officers with no female officers present. She described the experience as deeply humiliating and distressing. Now, I do not know if these claims are true. I was not there. But I do know that this is not the first time we have heard stories like this from Dubai. Detained in Dubai, the human rights group representing Brooke George has documented numerous cases of women being mistreated in UAE custody. Women who report rape have been prosecuted for sex outside marriage. Women who try to flee domestic abuse have been detained. This is a system that criminalizes victims. This is a system that does not believe women. This is a system that punishes survivors. And this is the system that Brooke George is now trapped in. Ronda Sterling, the CEO of Detained in Dubai, said, "The UAE has a well-documented history of criminalizing and re-victimizing women who report violence." She called for Brooke to be treated as a domestic violence survivor while they investigate. But here is the problem. In Dubai, domestic violence is not taken seriously the way it is in the West. Women are expected to submit to their husbands. Women are expected to endure. Women are expected to be silent. And if a woman fights back, if a woman kills her abuser, she is not a victim. She is a murderer, and she faces the firing squad. That is the reality, and that is what Brooke George is up against. The unanswered questions. What doesn't add up? Now let me ask the hard questions, because there are so many things about this case that do not add up. Question 1. Why did she go back? Brooke George says Bill Treby became controlling and abusive on her second trip. But why did she go back for a second trip in the first place? She had already been to Dubai. She had already done the photo shoot. She had already had the time of her life. Why did she need to go back? Bill Treby's friend asked the same question. He said, if he was controlling and bad, why did she fly out for the second time 4 days before the incident? That is a fair question. If a man is controlling, if he is abusive, if he is dangerous, why would you go back? Why would you put yourself in harm's way? Maybe she did not know he was dangerous until she got there. Maybe he changed. Maybe she thought she could handle it. Maybe she was desperate for the money, the lifestyle, the Instagram content. I do not know. But the question remains. Question 2. Why did he buy her a one-way ticket? Brooke George says Bill Treby bought her a one-way ticket. If true, that is a massive red flag. A one-way ticket means he did not expect her to leave. It means he expected her to stay. It means he was planning to control her from the moment she arrived. But is it true? We only have her word. And if it is true, why did she not question it? Why did she not buy her own return ticket? Why did she get on a plane with a one-way ticket to a country where she had no family, no support, and no safety net? Question 3. What happened at Caffrey's bar? The night of the incident, Brooke George and Bill Treby went to Caffrey's bar in Jumeirah Village. According to Treby's friend, They had a petty argument in the pub and were both guilty of being violent. Treby left and went home. George followed shortly afterwards and stabbed him to death in his flat. But is that what happened? We do not know. We have one version from an anonymous friend of the victim. We have another version from Brooke George. And we have no independent witnesses. What was the argument about? Who started it? Who was the aggressor? We may never know. Question 4. Why did she not call the police? This is the biggest question of all. If Brooke George was truly acting in self-defense, if Bill Treby was attacking her, if she feared for her life, if she grabbed a knife to protect herself, why did she not call the police? Why did she not call the British Embassy? Why did she not call for help? Why did she find her passport, book a flight, and run to the airport? If you are innocent, you do not run. You stay, you explain, you cooperate, you trust the system to protect you. But maybe she did not trust the system. Maybe she knew that in Dubai, a woman who kills a man, even in self-defense, is not going to be treated as a victim. Maybe she knew that she would be arrested, charged, and possibly executed. And if that is the case, then her flight to the airport makes sense. She was not running because she was guilty. She was running because she was terrified. Question 5. Why did the police not investigate her claims? Brooke George says she was assaulted. She says she had injuries. Her mother says she saw one of her eyes was badly swollen and was beginning to close. But did the police document those injuries? Did they investigate her claims of abuse? Did they take her seriously? Detained in Dubai says no. They say the authorities have not investigated her allegations of abuse with the same seriousness as the allegation against her. And that is a problem. Because if Brooke George was truly a victim of domestic violence, then her case should be treated as self-defense, not murder. But in Dubai, domestic violence is not taken seriously, and women who kill their abusers are not treated as victims. Question 6. What about the photos on his computer? According to Detained in Dubai, Brooke George reported seeing disturbing videos on Bill Treby's computer. What were those videos? Were they violent? Were they pornographic? Were they evidence of something darker? We do not know. But it is another piece of the puzzle that has not been fully investigated. Question 7. Why was she strip-searched by male officers? After her arrest, Brooke George claims she was forced to strip naked in front of male officers, with no female officers present. She was denied access to a lawyer. She was forced to make statements without legal representation. If true, these are serious violations of her rights. They suggest a system that is not interested in justice. They suggest a system that is interested in punishment. And they raise serious questions about whether Brooke George can get a fair trial. The double standard, why we are not outraged enough. Let me ask you something. Why is this case not getting more attention? A 23-year-old woman is facing execution by firing squad. She claims she was a victim of domestic violence. She claims she acted in self-defense. She claims she was strip-searched and denied a lawyer. And yet, the outrage is muted. Why? Is it because she is a TikTok influencer? Is it because people think she was looking for a bag? Is it because people think she got what she deserved? I have seen the comments online. She should have known better. She was asking for it. She went there for money. She is not a victim. She is a murderer. And I understand some of that. I really do. Because I have asked some of the same questions. Why did she go back? Why did she not call the police? Why did she run? But here is what I need you to understand. None of those questions change the fact that a 23-year-old woman is facing execution. None of those questions change the fact that she is sitting in a Dubai prison cell right now, terrified, alone, and facing death. And none of those questions change the fact that the system she is up against is rigged. Let me put this in perspective. If a man kills a woman in self-defense in England, he is not facing execution. If a man kills a woman in self-defense in America, he is not facing execution. If a man kills a woman in self-defense in almost any Western country, he has a chance at a fair trial. But a woman kills a man in self-defense in Dubai, she faces the firing squad. That is a double standard, and we need to talk about it. I am not saying Brooke George is innocent. I am not saying she is guilty. I am saying that she deserves a fair trial. I am saying that her claims of abuse should be investigated. I am saying that she should not be executed without due process. And I am saying that if we are not outraged by what is happening to her, then we are part of the problem. Because this could happen to any woman who gets on a plane to a country she does not understand, any woman who trusts the wrong man, any woman who makes a mistake. And if we do not stand up for her, then who will stand up for us? A message to young women: do your research. Now, I want to speak directly to every young woman listening to this episode, every woman who has ever dreamed of traveling to Dubai, every woman who has ever thought about meeting a man online, every woman who has ever thought about flying to a foreign country for a photo shoot or a bag. I need you to hear me, and I need you to hear me clearly. Do your research. Before you get on a plane to any country, you need to understand the laws. You need to understand the culture. You need to understand what happens to women who are accused of crimes. In Dubai, you can be arrested for wearing a bikini in the wrong place. You can be arrested for posting a photo on social media. You can be arrested for having sex outside of marriage. You can be arrested for being a victim of domestic violence. And if you kill someone, even in self-defense, you can be executed. Do you understand what that means? It means that if you are attacked, if you are assaulted, if you are fighting for your life, and you manage to survive by killing your attacker, you could still be executed. That is not justice. That is not self-defense. That is a death sentence for being a survivor. So before you get on that plane, ask yourself, do I know the laws? Do I know what happens to women in this country? Do I know what my rights are? Do I know what to do if something goes wrong? And if you do not know the answers to those questions, do not go. I am not saying you should never travel. I am saying you should travel smart. You should travel informed. You should travel with your eyes open, because Brooke George did not. And now she is facing a firing squad. What happens next? The fight for Brooke George. So what happens now? Brooke George is sitting in Dubai police station. She is facing a charge of premeditated murder. If she is convicted, she faces execution by firing squad. Her family is fighting for her. Her mother, Teresa, has spoken out saying, "As Brooke's mother, I am deeply concerned for her welfare." The daughter I spoke to that night was utterly terrified. The human rights group, detained in Dubai, is representing her. They are calling for her to be released on bail and for the incident to be treated as a domestic violence case. The British Foreign Office is involved. A spokesperson said, "We are in touch with a British woman detained in the UAE. We are supporting her family, and we are in contact with the local authorities." But here is the hard truth. The British government cannot save her. They can advocate. They can negotiate. They can apply diplomatic pressure. But they cannot override UAE law. Brooke George's fate is in the hands of the Dubai legal system, and that system is not known for being lenient. So what can we do? We can talk about this case. We can share her story. We can demand that the authorities investigate her claims of abuse. We can demand that she receive a fair trial. We can demand that she not be executed without due process. And we can pray, or send good energy, or whatever you believe in, because right now, Brooke George needs all the help she can get. But we also need to learn from this case. We need to understand that the world is not safe. We need to understand that other countries have different laws. We need to understand that our rights do not travel with us. And we need to teach our daughters, our nieces, our granddaughters, our goddaughters to be careful, to be smart, to be informed. Because Brooke George's story is a warning. And if we do not heed that warning, then more women will end up in the same situation. Now, I am going to ask you to do 4 things. First, if you have not already, go online and research this case for yourself. Do not take my word for it. Look up the laws in Dubai. Look up what happens to women who are accused of crimes there. Look up the cases of other British nationals who have been detained. Educate yourself. Second, share this episode with at least 3 people. Send it to your group chats. Post it on your social media. Talk about it at your dinner table. Because this conversation needs to happen. Young women are flying to Dubai every single day, and too many of them do not know what they are walking into. Third, if you are a woman, or if you love a woman, have the conversation. Talk about safety. Talk about research. Talk about what to do if something goes wrong. Do not assume she knows. Do not assume she will be fine. Assume nothing. Fourth, pray for both families. Pray for Bill Treby's family, who lost a son and a brother. Pray for Brooke George's family, who are watching their daughter face execution. Pray for Brooke George herself, a 23-year-old woman sitting in a Dubai prison cell, terrified and alone. And pray for justice. Real justice. Not revenge, not punishment, justice. Before I close this episode, I want to remind you about my other shows. You can find them wherever you are listening right now. The Wealth Reset Podcast, because financial freedom is part of our survival. We cannot make good decisions if we are desperate for money. Love Lies and Life Lessons, for the heartbreaks and the healing. Because even in the middle of tragedy, we still need to love each other. Lady Aurelia Ravenshade presents, for the stories that haunt you, the mysteries that keep you up at night, and the escape we all sometimes need. And Soul Points, for the deeper questions. The ones about spirit, about purpose, about why we are here, and what we owe each other. Same voice, different conversations, all rooted in truth. Go check them out. This episode was for Brooke George, a 23-year-old woman who is sitting in a Dubai prison cell, facing execution by firing squad. A woman who made mistakes. A woman who trusted the wrong man. A woman who may have acted in self-defense, or may not have. We may never know the full truth. It was also for Bill Treby, a 26-year-old man who is dead. A man who had a history of violence against women. A man who cannot tell his side of the story. A man whose family is grieving. And it was for every young woman who has ever dreamed of traveling to Dubai. Every woman who has ever thought about meeting a man online. Every woman who has ever thought about flying to a foreign country for a photo shoot or a bag. Because this story is a warning about the dangers of trusting strangers, a warning about the dangers of not doing your research, a warning about the dangers of walking into a country with laws you do not understand. Brooke George's life hangs in the balance, and whether she is guilty or innocent, she deserves a fair trial. She deserves due process. She deserves to have her claims of abuse investigated, and she deserves not to be executed without justice. Rest in peace to Bill Treby, and prayers for Brooke George and her family. This is a traumatic time for everyone involved. I am Ronda, and this has been Life Points with Ronda. Do your research, stay safe, and for heaven's sake, think twice before you get on that plane. Thank you for tuning in to Life Points with Ronda. Be sure to subscribe, share, and keep growing.